Welcome back to another episode of the Playbook Podcast. These podcasts are slowly kind of morphing into, I wouldn't necessarily call it a podcast anymore because, it's a solo podcast like it used to be at the very start. Not really a lot of interviews. And it's not something that I plan to make the biggest podcast in the world because there's a lot more, there's a lot better I could be doing. I could be having better production. I could be using my camera instead of my MacBook, but all I'm using this for is sharing my thoughts, sharing my ideas, timestamping some of the things that I've been going through, and cementing those in the digital format for them to stay for the rest of my life. This week, and I suppose last week, because it hasn't been an episode for 2 weeks now, have been quite busy, and it got me thinking into what I'm going to start speaking about today. In a sense, I was feeling quite burnt out, and I felt like I was kind of flirting with the edge of what was possible, what was capable for me, until I was really burning out. And I never understood what people meant when they said burnout and what that would feel like. I think for different people, it will surface in different ways. But for me, what it was I started getting quite agitated, a short fuse. I started getting frustrated quite quickly, started snapping, felt like it doesn't matter how much sleep I was getting, I was still quite tired, but not fatigued, not constantly overly fatigued. It just felt like even though I was resting at the weekend and kind of taking it chilled, that come Monday or Tuesday, I was still quite tired. And that has a lot to do with the fact that it's a really high training volume at the moment, in the sense of the last few weeks. Even though I was kind of dealing with some issues in terms of injuries that I was dealing with for my hips, my right hip and my hamstring, even though I was kind of reduced volume on the running side of things, it was still quite high volume. At the moment, I think it's 2 swims, 2 cycles, 2 to 3 runs per week, and then 3 gym sessions. So yeah, the volume is quite high, combined with 8:30 to 6:30 Monday to Friday in the office, and things have gotten quite demanding lately. The team when I first joined was about 8 brokers, managing a team of brokers. Now it has gone to 24, 23. So that's quite an increase over, I'd say, a 3-month period. So trying to deal with that, and a lot of the brokers being brand new to industry and having a lot of questions for me and demanding a lot of my time, energy and attention, has meant that since my last break in August, I really didn't have much of switch off time. So towards the end of last week, I completely switched off. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday essentially was just a complete switch off. Went on a staycation and recharged the batteries, which was really noticeable come Monday and Tuesday in the office. Even though I was the same amount busy, even though the things were just flying, I wasn't reactive. I wasn't kind of impatient. Didn't have a short fuse. And I like to think of myself as quite a patient person, but how busy I am from 8:30 to 6:30 is crazy. Some of my busiest months as a broker, like this, genuinely can feel like that sometimes. Specifically, Monday and Tuesday are very, very heavy in the sense of how busy I am. I'm trying to fit in time for anything outside of work or training is really slim. So as a result, I think a lot of things in my life had slipped. Meditation slipped, journaling slipped because I ran out of a journal and just didn't bother to get a new one. Spending time with people outside of work, I kind of slipped, and I wasn't really looking after myself, and it felt like everything that I was doing for other people, which is extremely demanding because it's how other people show up for me and how I show up for other people. Because I was showing up for everybody else and being the orchestrator, being the facilitator, being the manager, being the coach, being the mentor, being the host of the run club. And there was little to no time left for me where I could participate in something without facilitating it. there was nothing where I could just kind of breeze in and breeze out and nobody really did know, and everything could be set up for me. It felt like I was doing everything kind of almost being a martyr of some sorts. And funny enough, that's what my manager said this week is, Brian, don't be a martyr. Like, let us know if you're struggling with this, if you've got too much on your plate, and we can take it off. In this weird kind of egotistical, sadistic way, it's like, no, I can do it myself. I can bear the burden myself. This is heroic. This is something that should be, that I should wear like a badge on my chest. So coming to terms with that is going to be something that I'm going to have to deal with. But seasons is what I was going to try and speak about without absolutely waffling on for the last 6 minutes. Seasons of my life. I think it's important to frame these times when I am feeling overwhelmed, when I am feeling like there's a lot going on, to remind myself that this is for a season. I'm extremely grateful for everything that I have in my life. That's not taken away from some of the problems that I have, but extremely grateful for some of the problems that I have. My life currently here in Dubai and how that has changed over the past 2 years. And even though I was lamenting some other times when I was here, when it felt like that things were more relaxed, I was looking more into myself, and I was spending time with the person who I previously lived with, there's definitely a point where I kind of romanticized that part, that few months last year, where everything seemed like a bit more chilled and a bit more focusing on myself. I keep having to remind myself that this is for a season. I keep having to remind myself that I'm doing this for a reason. Because I've been struggling recently with like the question of what am I going to do with my life? What is out there for me? What am I going to do from my own? What is my future path? And it's just falling into that like future thinking again. I need to remind myself to stay present, but I keep battling with this thing of like, I need to know, I'm wasting my time solving minuscule problems, just really being undervalued in a sense of the problems that I'm solving, the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm in a quote unquote successful position, but it's kind of like, how big are the problems that I'm solving, and what bigger, greater impact am I actually having here, and how much do I enjoy it? So this is just kind of a reoccurring theme that I'm going to have to work on. And instead of just saying I'm going to work on it, I need to delve deep into that and explore myself kind of internally again. If that's through meditative practices or spending times and things that I feel like I could be passionate about, because it would be easy if I knew the thing that I could pursue in the future. But I think the majority of people don't know what that thing is when they start to begin it. So that's the whole thing. Like, I think I need to keep reminding myself that, Brian, you told yourself that this is only for a season. Brian, you told yourself that the reason is that you're going into this job compared to being a broker and being in a managerial position is finding out if this will do something a bit more for you, if this will get a lot more enjoyment out of it. And the thing that I struggle with is, because, I can keep doing it. Like, I can keep doing the job. Like, I can just do it and do it and do it. And I can wake up and I can be there at 8:30 and I can finish at 6:30 every single day. And from the outside, it looks like I would enjoy it. And it's all that I speak about when I'm in work is work, 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 work. Things related to work. How are we moving forward? Blah, blah, blah. And that can be misconstrued as me enjoying it. And sometimes it's misconstrued internally as well, where I feel like that I can enjoy it. But it's reminding myself that this is for a season, that I said I would give it a year, see what will come up. But even though there's attractive opportunities being put on my plate from similar industries, similar areas, it's like, surely there's something out there for me that more aligns with myself. And that is the kind of fundamental underlying thing that I keep battling with. So when it comes to seasons, I think it's important for everybody to look at seasons in their life and be like, okay, this is for a season. This is where I'm going to try something for a long period of time. I'm going to give it all that it takes in order to excel in this one domain of whatever it is that I'm interested in, whatever it is that I'm focused on, and give it absolutely everything and focus for a season. This is off the bat of me having a conversation with a guy who is considering a role in real estate living in Ireland. And it's interesting because recently I've been doing a recruitment campaign targeting to the Irish and UK audience to try and get good, brand new to industry, zero previous experience people and attract them to the job, attract them to the company, attract them to Dubai. The reason why, there's a number of factors that I'm not going to get into today. Like mostly the fact that people from these countries, specifically Ireland, can really excel in these positions. But I was having this conversation with this person and he didn't realize it was commission only. And this was a reoccurring theme for the majority of people that came through this recruitment campaign that was ran. They didn't understand that it was commission only. And having this conversation with this person, because he's in his early 20s and he has a very comfortable position, a really, really comfortable position in Ireland, getting a really good salary and has a cushy little number for himself. Extremely, extremely well paid in a sales role. And I was just like, look, I appreciate that completely. I understand that completely. And, I assume it can be difficult for you to step into a commission only role when you're in such a cushy number. But is that what you want to do for the rest of your life? And at the young age of in your early 20s, is this something that you're comfortable with for the rest of your life? And for me, it's like, I want to see what I'm capable of and I want to push the boundaries. Yeah, this salary is nice, but could I double it if I did something by myself? Could I triple it? Could I 10x it if I moved to a different country and thought that, yeah, this is nice, but there's more out there for me. I'm capable even of more, and reaching into that domain of discomfort and going into a completely unfamiliar city, an unfamiliar role, and focusing for a season of your life. And he essentially said, well, essentially that's why I'm here. But I think the commission only thing definitely took the wind out of his sails, which it is understandable. I think the best way that I always frame it is that it's not necessarily like that you're an employee. So kind of ridding yourself of that employee mindset is an absolute necessity, and focusing more on the mind of an entrepreneur, that you are a business owner. If you set up a business tomorrow, that you wouldn't essentially know how much you're going to make. So the same rules apply with that. And it's kind of interesting because I think for men in their 20s, I've said this before, that those are the years in which you test what you're capable. You push the boat out and see what I'm actually capable of, and testing your limits and seeing how hard you can work, taking the risk, taking the leap, and testing the upper limit of what you think is capable for yourself, and break your preconceived ideas of what you are capable of, or what the status quo might be, or what somebody with your experience might be capable of doing. So it's kind of reaching into that discomfort and focusing on yourself. And in your 20s is that prime time for you to be able to do that. But it's for a season in your life. Like, there's plenty of seasons in your life. There might be 5 years, there might be 10 years. Yeah, I understand this. The degree in which I'm pushing now and the extent to which my work is extremely demanding, it's not always going to be that way. It's only for a season. And there might be a season in the future where I travel the world, or there might be a season in the future where I set up my own business, and there will be a season in my future where I have a family and I have to focus on my kids and my wife, and I have to be there. And then there's a season in my life where I will be retiring and focusing on something completely different. Who knows? But it's the constant reminder to myself and to anybody else who might be struggling with something that they might be going through at the moment, is that it's only for a season. It's periodically putting myself into this uncomfortable situation for a season. And there are no real failures, in the sense that if I try this thing for a set period of time and it doesn't work out, that I can regress, that I mean I can go back to the place where I previously was physically, in a sense. Like, I mean physically, like if you quit your job and go into a completely different role, I assume you'll be able to get your job back after a few months. Mentally, you will have learned a lot. From the outside, you might assume that you've failed, you might assume that other people might label that as failure, but internally, you've learned so much about yourself, so much about the industry. So, understanding that this season is only a season, and this season is, regardless of if it's a success or a failure, that you will learn from it and you will gain skills from it. And it's those stacking of skills that will make you unstoppable in the years to come. And why I'm speaking about this essentially is because it's been a front of mind thought for myself when I do get into those periods of like, what am I actually doing? What am I actually here for? Am I just absolutely wasting my time? Am I getting just so caught up in the process, so caught up in the pursuit, so caught up in the work? Am I losing myself and in the process, and am I losing who I am in the process, and am I not on the right path? I think that's a fucking such a reoccurring theme for me, and those levels of doubt are constant. But I think that I will know within the next 6 months what my next step will be. But I don't keep want to start thinking about the next step, because if I'm always focused on the next step, I'm not focusing on the current step. So it's reminding myself to get into the present moment, to focus on what I'm currently doing, being okay with the fact that there are sacrifices that I don't necessarily want to even make in the current moment, but it's for my future self. It's for my future why. Sacrificing my future why, sacrificing my current why for my future why. Yeah, I'm doing a thing that I might want to do. I'm doing a job that I might not want to do. I might be living in a city I might not want to live in, but it's for a greater purpose. It's for a future goal. It's for a future why. And it's okay in the current season to sacrifice that and periodically not be in the quote unquote happiest position or meaningful position, or yeah. And it's being okay with that and doing the work regardless. Because it's tricky, because I think if this was like 40 years ago or something, then this would be the generalized accepted definition of success, because our parents, well, my parents would have been coming from a place of work a job, continually work that job for 20, 30 years, get yourself a nice salary, get yourself a nice pension, and then work and work and work, and then relax after, retire. And why that has changed, I think a lot of it has to do with some of the things that might be on social media. You get to see within every single person's lives. So even though there were CEOs, even though there were entrepreneurs back in my parents' time, it's not like they could see every single moment of this person's life. They couldn't see that this person was doing this with their lifestyle and they were still able to earn X amount and still travel the world and own a business and have set lifestyle. So it's the comparison element and the rejection of this from social media, and rejection of this of people in my current age of, yeah, like, you don't want to work for someone for the rest of your life. You have to do your own thing. You have to set up a company. You have to be a single person entrepreneur. You have to, you know fix a problem and sell the solution, and the one person business and the 4-hour work week and the entrepreneurial whatever. It's like, not everybody can be an entrepreneur anyways, but it's like, it's always that comparison that, like, yes, this thing over here is what I should be doing, and this is here is what I should not be doing. And success is only society's definition of it in the current moment, based off what's currently trending. And I think it's that outsourcing my definition of success to the external environment that is going to get me into trouble. So if you're listening to this and you might be in a career that you might not enjoy, you might be doing a job and working with somebody else, understand that it's okay, first of all. Second of all, it's only going to be for a season if you choose for it to be. Understand that you don't have to be distracted by other people. You don't have to look at the path that other people are walking and think, I wonder how I could jump over there. I wonder, how great that is, because everybody on every path is dealing with their own issues and assuming that the other path might be even more beneficial. And that everybody has that uncertainty, and the uncertainty that you're feeling now about your future is an uncertainty that the majority of people will feel. It's only the hindsight of looking back on that uncertainty will you know that you're on the right path regardless. So it's being okay and understanding that only hindsight will show you that you're on the right or wrong path. And that even if it is the wrong path, you will learn a lot on the way, and remaining present in the moment and focusing on yourself and feeling where your feet are on the ground, and not allowing society to define your success, and not taking external influences of what is and what should and what is successful and what is supposed to be valuable. And it's taking it back to the present moment, and it's focusing on yourself, and it is understanding that it's only for a season and that it may pass if you choose for it to pass. And that this is you testing what you're capable of. This is you testing your hypothesis of if I like this role or not, or if I like this future career path, or if I like this current job, if I find meaning from it. And you would only understand the answer once you've done the thing. And that's what I need to remind myself consistently, that when I get into those kind of frantic states of, like, what am I doing? Like, am I actually aligned with myself or whatever? It's just like, Brian, this is why you took this step. This is why you were in this job, to find out. And you are finding out, and you will have found out over the next few months. Understand that for the present moment, for the present season, it's okay. It is okay. It will pass, and you will find out. And you have come so far up to this point in a short amount of years. And the same will be for the future. Compare yourself to 10 years ago and realize how much you've changed. Accept it, and then assume that within the next 10 years you will change as much. Because 10 years ago I was 15, and a 15-year-old Brian is a completely different, lost Brian than it is today. Completely different. I mean, the core kind of himself is the same, because I don't want to separate the two. But in 10 years, when you are 35, that you will have changed as much, and you will be in a different season of your life. And who knows? And that is the beauty of it, because if you knew, then it would be boring. So the not known is the exciting part. Nobody knew. Nobody knew who walked the path before you when they're on the path, if there was a right path or not. Anybody who set up a successful company didn't know it was going to be a success. They didn't know if it was going to work, when it was just in their mind and it was just a mere idea. The same uncertainties that you might be feeling are the same uncertainties that they were feeling. The only reason that you assume that is different, because they're talking from a place of where they currently are, from certainty. You cannot hear the people who are currently uncertain, because they are uncertain. But you will hear them in the future. And at that point, they will be certain. So take everything that people say with a pinch of salt, and remember to focus on yourself and your own path. And come back to yourself and align your decisions with your values and your morals, and you will be destined to go to the right place, and trust that this is only for a season.